Welcome everyone to our third annual Spring Recognition for the Smart Energy Analytics campaign. We're having a lot of folks join the call today, so I'm just going to start just briefly with the introductory material. It's okay if other folks join as we go. Here's our team. I'm Hannah Kramer. I'm the technical lead for the team on the Smart Energy Analytics campaign, and we're definitely excited to announce this latest round of participants. It's our third year of the awards, and it's really great to be able to share such successful implementations really throughout the country on analytics. It's really exciting. But before we run through the awards, we have some quick fire announcements. First, this meeting is being recorded, and we'll post the recording and slides. As always, you'll get an email with the slide deck, so if you're interested in the details you see today, you will have that slide deck. And the next slide briefly, just putting in a plug for the 2019 Better Buildings and Better Plants Summit in DC in July. It's a really great place to get connected with other folks through DOE Better Buildings and Better Plants programs. It's a great conference. So we will be having a session there on analytics and having some of our very own campaign participants as a part of the panel. So that will be exciting. I'm just going to pause here while a lot of folks are joining and wait just another minute here before we get going on the presentations. Okay. I'd like to thank everyone who submitted their participant actions. So this is just another quick announcement for the folks that are part of the campaign. We had an initial deadline of June 1st, and if you haven't gotten to it yet, you can reach out to us if you need any help. Also, luckily enough, we've extended the deadline to June 14th to give a little more time to those of you that need it. So let us know if you have any problems. These participant action forms and the data you give us is really key to our research efforts. We need everyone to turn them in so we can publish really accurate and the biggest data set possible. It's all anonymized through the report. And it's been really useful for folks in building their business case and having good data from impartial third party to reference. So please do send that participant actions form in. Be looking out for the results of this data analysis that we'll be doing this summer. And at the end of the summer, we put out, this will be our year 3 report on the results of the campaign participation and really what's going on from a costs and savings and measures implementation perspective in the industry. Also, for both campaign participants and supporting partners, we're going to be putting out a short survey, online survey coming this summer to inform our future planning efforts. You may have heard the rumor that is actually true that the campaign is winding down in 2020. We will be accepting participants into the campaign through January 1st, 2020. But we have been running for 3 years, and it's time to sunset the campaign. But luckily enough, there'll be involvement opportunities through Better Buildings. So we're going to continue that involvement and evolve it. And this survey is to inform how that looks and what your most important topics are that we can cover in our EMIS work with Better Buildings as we go forward in this future partnership with you all. All right, so this list is really impressive. This is all of our award winners since our first set of awards in May of 2017. I want to give credit to all these organizations for their work in implementing and using EMIS. You see the link at the top there. We've developed 2-page success stories for each of these folks that document their really impressive accomplishments, and we hope you'll access those on our website and share them around. This is one of the ways that we give credit to those that have been awarded one of the awards in the campaign and get the word out on best practices. All right, so now for the main event. We have a great group of organizations being recognized in this webinar today. There's a lot to learn from this group and how they use analytics. And honestly, this is the highest number of awards we've given away in a single award cycle. There was so much great work going on, we just decided to acknowledge the great work that's going on without reducing to a certain number arbitrarily. So we're excited to give you 7 awards. I'll introduce each awardee and say a little bit why they got their award. And we're lucky enough to have, I think, almost everyone on from each organization to give some color commentary on their approaches, what worked for them, so you get to hear directly from them. And then we'll have a little bit of time for Q&A. So you'll see your chat function at the bottom of your screen. Please send your questions you can send them directly to Elliot. It's a little easier for him to manage. He's going to manage the Q&A at the end, and he'll organize the questions and get them out. We have a lot of presentations to go through, so get your questions in early. All right, so we're going to start with Hewlett Packard Enterprises in partnership with ISS Facility Services. And we're really pleased to provide this award for best practice in the use of FDD to Hewlett Packard and ISS in partnership. One of the reasons we gave them this best practice award was kind of the structure they use and how they implement their FDD program. They hired an FDD implementation expert, Kurt Kirchner, who is also on the call today, to lead each site through their first year of FDD implementation. And Kurt works with the sites to implement the largest energy saving opportunities and give staff hands-on training. So that's like this springboard into using the software. By the end of the year, the plan is for the staff to embrace it, use the tools themselves, and have Kurt there for on-call basis, but not helping them as much. The other thing they did is that sometimes the fixes with FDD are low cost, and other times they require some capital investment or some redesign process to make the systems actually operate correctly, because maybe they weren't designed originally correctly. So Hewlett Packard has allocated funding for these capital improvements that are under a 2-year payback. So what they're doing is they're putting FDD findings into kind of a project structure, so they can that has a specific payback, and they can allocate additional money to contractors and to other resources to help implement the solution. So sometimes what we find is that people who implement FDD have a bottleneck in their staff time, because there's so much to do. So what's happened in this case, which is really a great practice, is that they've turned some of the bigger projects into projects that have their own ROI and can receive their extra project-based support from contractors that get hired to fix and help whittle down that fault list in that first year. So one example project was also really great, where they got their water side economizers working again, and having the FDD software in place helped them put a price tag on how much it was costing them not to have those water side economizers in operation. And they're like, whoa, we really think it's going to make sense to fix these and make them work for operations teams and receive that energy savings. So that was another example of how FDD can inform just your overall system optimization and operations. So congratulations to Hewlett Packard and ISS Facility Services. Do we have Jeremy on the line? Jeremy McDonald, from who's the Global Energy and Sustainability Director, to share a few things?
Yep, I'm here. Can you hear me now?
Yep, can hear you, Jeremy. So you want to say a few words? I'm going to go to the next slide that shows a graphic of your home screen there.
Thank you. Yeah, it's coming up for me here in the tool. So I'd like to give credit, just with the second I'll take, to our team. It wasn't my idea to add capital budget to the project. We had done a few of these before and loved the results that we're getting. You can see some of it here. But then we'd get stuck because a small amount of money in a capital side would be holding us up from big savings, and most large companies have a robust capital approval process. So we tried to streamline all of that and put together an estimate for how much money we would probably need. We also had to estimate how much that investment would probably save us. And so we'd made some really conservative investments. We had a really great partner, customer that agreed with our estimates, and got that concept approved so that we would be able to immediately address all of these great savings opportunities that this tool could identify. You're seeing here the dashboard for KGS's solution. This is called Clockwork. My favorite column is on the right, where it says what it's costing us and prioritizes the things we need to fix first. And if that happened to be, if capital dollars were required for that and it was underneath what we already had approved, we could immediately move forward with these things. And it just made it a very simple approach once we had those approvals in place, and let us do a lot of great energy savings projects for our clients. And it was really our team that came up with that concept, and I'm glad it worked out so well.
Great, Jeremy. I wondered if you could just clarify on that cost column. Is that a monthly or a year-to-date kind of cost? What's the time frame for that cost?
You can set it up to show you cost against different time periods. What you're seeing at the top of the page is how it's filtered or what the date range is, and you've got a month's worth of data there showing. So that's
Great.
a monthly
Okay.
cost that this fault is causing us. And that's the best part, because we know what the cost for the energy is that's being consumed for that chiller. And in this case, that's one of those complex ones. We could be doing free cooling based on outside temperatures and humidity points, but we're not. So that shows you how much that costs you over a month, because you're actually you're not taking advantage of passive cooling opportunities.
Yeah.
And then on down from there, so you can then filter by cost so that the highest things are at the top, and it helps you prioritize what work you're trying to do. You know, if you have this fantastic system identifying these opportunities, but the site team can't easily see what they are and begin to address them, you'll end up failing on that component as well. And this dashboard lets you see that pretty quickly.
Great. Thank you so much, Jeremy. And congratulations to your whole team, you and Kurt, and your building engineers at the various sites. We're very impressed with your installation.
Thank you
All
very
right.
much.
So next award, we're going to Jamestown. In the category of energy performance using an EIS for a portfolio, we're pleased to give this award to Jamestown. In the past year, they saved really a significant amount of energy through operational improvements at their buildings. 5 buildings saved, if you look at the whole building energy use, they saved over 15% compared to the previous year. Not all of them were quite that high, but they had quite a few that were really high. Jamestown has a really pretty interesting story in relation to the Smart Energy Analytics campaign. They joined fairly early on, and they wanted assistance in figuring out the best way to set up their dashboards. They had their whole building interval meter data connected, but they were looking at it in various ways across their portfolio. They didn't have kind of a consistent dashboard for their building engineers across the portfolio. So we worked with them and came up with some ideas on how to make that a consistent thing that worked for them. Now they've trained their building engineers and support them in using their EIS to help save energy and reduce demand charges. And one of the most useful charts for engineers is expected energy use, which displays a band of predicted performance. I'm just going to flip to that next. And so this light blue band here is a projected expected performance based on a model. So their engineers can use that to see daily if their energy use that day and their demand is going outside that range, and think about, well, what's going on that might make it go outside that range to kind of keep within the bounds of expectations. So that's one great feature that they're using. I'm going to hand it over to Becca Russian, of the VP of Sustainability and Corporate Social Responsibility at Jamestown, to share a little bit more about how they're using their system. And a big congratulations to Becca. She's worked with Ed Bassford, the Director of Operations at Jamestown Urban Management. I'm not sure if he's on the line, but I'll hand it over to Becca. Are you there?
Yes, thanks, Hannah. I really appreciate it. And we're really grateful to get this recognition. You know, we've had some form of EMIS in place since, I guess, starting in 2013. But, you know, I think for us it's really been a journey just to figure out kind of the best model, the best platform, you know, how to really engage with an EMIS. And certainly, you know, our involvement with the campaign really helped to ramp that up. So we're really grateful for you all, your assistance on that. You know, when we first rolled out our EMIS, this was back in 2013, 2014, we had a smaller subset of about 5 buildings. And it was more recently in partnership with Jamestown Urban Management, led by Ed Bassford, that we were able to expand that using their partnership, Lincoln Properties partnership with Aquacor. We were able to expand that to include over 14 properties. And that was great because rather than just looking at 1 or 2 buildings, you know, we were really, from the portfolio perspective, able to look at kind of a larger scale. You know, certainly in a diversified real estate portfolio, it's just kind of helpful to see how all of our buildings are performing as a group. But what we noticed even when we had implemented the Aquacor platform was that we felt like the team still needed some guidance on how to get the most out of it. And you know, on one hand, we want to give our site level folks the ability to customize, but we wanted to give them all the same starting point. And so Hannah, working with your team to develop the checklist and even just increase our own understanding of the Aquacor tool was really valuable. I think, you know, we even just kind of being a liaison between us and Aquacor and making sure we were extracting the best information was really beneficial. And then, of course, you know, being able to see some savings, whether they're small savings or more significant savings at other sites, has really helped to kind of validate the value that the tool brings. And so, yeah, we're looking forward to kind of, you know, continuing these analytics, and, you know, now that we have a kind of operation in place to ensure that new engineers and new employees can get trained and know how to use the tool from day one, I think we're in much better shape, and we'll continue to see savings.
Thanks, Becca. It's really exciting to see how, you know, you can customize a tool to meet your needs, and your tool is, in fact, you know, very flexible in that regard. So sometimes being flexible makes it too open-ended, and you have to sort of decide, well, what do you want to look at, and how are you going to look at it, and then roll it out broadly. So you guys were able to do that, which is great. I'll just briefly answer. There's one question that came in on that band. Is it the model predicted band? How is that calculated? And that's a weather normalized, so it's like a regression-based model. It's not just an average model based on previous weeks. So, okay, well, thank you so much again, Becca, for the great work here. We're going to go on to the next award. The next award is in the category of energy performance using FDD in a portfolio. I should say fault detection and diagnostics. I think everyone on this call probably knows that, but I should be careful with my acronyms. So we're pleased to provide this award to Kaiser Permanente. Since they successfully had a pilot in 2015, well, you know, their pilot was so successful, the savings identified paid for the pilot in less than 6 months. So since then, they've rolled it out to 69 buildings and 7 million square feet. So a really large installation for Kaiser. And fault detection and diagnostics is really part of their plan to be, which is an amazing goal of being carbon neutral as a company. So they do a lot of things with data to try to achieve this goal. So they analyze monthly utility bills using their EIS. So their monthly bills are through NG Insight. And then they also look at benchmarking facilities through Energy Star Portfolio Manager. And then they've been capturing these savings to reinvest in things like more advanced analytics like fault detection and diagnostics. Part of their format is an energy champion at each building. They look at the faults identified by the tool. They look at the faults with the highest impact, review them, and then put together a work order if something needs to be fixed, and track status and resolution. So it's really a part of their overall management process. And they have, what we're going to look at in the next slide, which I really like, is this reporting dashboard that really rolls it all up to be clear on what the tool as a whole is showing them. So in addition to being innovative on installing FDD, they're also installing clean distributed generation like fuel cells and solar PV at many of their sites. And they're implementing also FDD for new building construction. So all their projects that are above a certain size, they're implementing FDD to ensure the proper commissioning and integration of the systems if it's a retrofit at the facility. This is a kind of a new trend in the industry of using FDD as a commissioning tool for new construction. We're seeing it a little more now than we were 3 years ago at the beginning of the campaign, so that's exciting. So now I'll hand you over to Gary. Gary Mullany, he's a senior energy consultant with Kaiser, and he's going to share more about how they implemented their FDD, and you'll see I'm going to go to their impacts dashboard here. So congratulations, Gary, and your whole team.
Thank you, Hannah. So I appreciate getting really humbled to get this award on behalf of Kaiser. It really has been a team effort. As you said, we have a more distributed approach to it where we have to identify a champion at each site or each campus that will become the champion to really drive this, because we don't have that necessarily centralized ability to monitor all our BMSs and really implement this. So we really need to do it in a more distributed manner. Really, what I do at a centralized is more program management and bringing on new buildings, monitoring sites as they're coming online, as well as doing a lot of these dashboards to make sure that we're keeping leadership engaged to provide the support to our champions. A few folks, so Dave Locker, who might be on the call, really is the one who championed and led our program and started off. I call him our kind of chief founder and chief champion of the program. I've been running it for the last 2 years. We've had great partnership with KGS Buildings, Nick Gajewski over there, and using their Clockworks platform. I'll say what I've learned over the last couple of years and can share is there's kind of everyone wants the impact at the end of the day. What I've realized is there's kind of a success formula to get to that impact. You've got to roll it out to a significant amount of buildings. You can't just pick a small building, or you might not get the benefit you're looking for. You need to have, so for us, I try to really get it into our hospitals, into our facilities that have really complex and robust equipment, where you're going to find more faults to really get the bang for your buck. Second, you need a platform that can do the analytics and do it seamlessly behind the scenes, so our folks don't have to. Our folks have actionable results. And then finally, and this is often the hardest part, but this is where we see the greatest success when it happens, is the engagement. So you can see what I just laid out is what we turned our impact report. We put our dashboard together to roll into that format so we can talk to our executives and explain how we're doing. Are we bringing sites online? How is the platform doing? Is it analyzing and finding faults? And then looking at our site champions and monitoring their engagement, so that if we see that engagement's dropping, I can reach out and have a conversation and find out what's going on. As Has there been a problem? Do we need to get leadership involved? And then finally, when all those things are going together, you're going to see the impact that you want to see. So I still feel like our program has a long way to go. We have 39 hospitals and close to 700 medical office buildings across 8 states. So we may have a big program now, but we still have a long ways to go, both existing facilities as well as bringing on board for any new buildings. So there's still a lot of work going on, but I really believe that with the engagement of our folks and a good platform, it's very successful.
Thanks, Gary. I just want to say I'm particularly impressed by this dashboard you've pulled together. So this was in addition to your FDD software where you pulled together with Microsoft Power BI, taking the data from that software, but in a way that you can share with executives. And in the top right corner, I just wanted to ask you a question about that the increasing avoidable costs by quarter looks like you're just adding more buildings and finding more stuff, and that you whittle down over time as you fix things that show up in the impact number in the bottom. Is that right?
Yes, that is correct. So
yeah.
if we get to a point where we kind of plateau on adding new buildings, that should remain pretty steady.
Yeah.
Shouldn't increase. So that number is the same as the number you were seeing on the first presentation in the actual snapshot of Clockwork. So that's the same number that rolls up to it. That's just cumulative.
Right. Great. Well, thank you again so much. It's really great to see a real national rollout, and all the work you've done to do that make it successful. So congratulations. All right. So we're going to go to our next award. You may not be aware that we also offer awards for single sites implementing EMIS. A lot of times EMIS is done at portfolio level, but there's definitely lots of benefits at single sites. So this next award is for energy performance using an energy information system at a single site. So Benchmark Electronics has implemented an energy information system at one office and manufacturing building. And we've really appreciated Benchmark Electronics' commitment to the campaign. Steve Beck, their engineering manager, joined the campaign as our third participant, and now we're up to like 95 participating organizations. But he was our third, so he's been there from the beginning. Thanks, Steve. And in getting this award, we want to emphasize that savings don't always require a deep financial investment in an energy information system. Benchmark installed a pretty simple system with no monthly software as a service fees. It's just a site hosted, and has used the data consistently over the years to identify excessive demand in real time. They're up to 15% savings on electric, and having this data also supports work with one of their utility-funded contractors who is able to leverage the data and know what's going on at a whole building level to dive deeper into operational issues. So they use it to get them deeper with other utility program support. So with that, I'll hand you over to Steve Beck, the Manufacturing Energy Manager at Benchmark, to tell you a little bit more about what they're doing there. And I will give you one of the dashboards on their tool. Steve?
Hey, Hannah, this is Elliot here. I seem to have lost Steve's connection here, but I will do something risky and unmute everybody and ask Steve to start speaking, and then hopefully that will help me identify his line here. So I'm going to unmute everybody. Hopefully everyone else is going to be quiet, and we'll hear from Steve.
The conference has been unmuted.
Hi, Elliot. This is Steve.
Hi, Steve. We hear you. Are you a 508 number?
507.
507. Okay. You can go ahead, and we'll deal with everything at this end here.
Okay. Thank you. I just wanted to say, first of all, thank you for recognizing Benchmark as a category winner for the energy performance using EIS in a single site. It was a great award, and the team was really proud to receive it here a few weeks ago. Just to give you a little background, Benchmark is a contract manufacturer of electronic products serving high-end markets such as medical, military, aerospace, industrial controls, and high-end computing. Our facility in Minnesota has had an energy team working on various projects since around 2010 in order to both reduce our costs as well as demonstrate one of our corporate goals to be sustainable. In 2014, we identified a need to have better granularity of our consumption and use patterns in order to further drive energy reduction projects. We studied several EIS solutions and settled on a system that provided the information and features we needed we thought, to bring the projects forward. About the same time, we learned about the Smart Energy Analytics campaign and decided to join to both learn from others and also share information that we obtained by using the system. So EIS has really helped us with several things. One of them being peak demand patterns. So we're able to use the system to help identify potentially like equipment startups, so we understand when that happens, and then also things like such as HVAC loads, when those might happen as peak demands, and then able to initiate projects to help reduce those. Another thing we use it for is looking at idle building energy use, so getting a baseline and then confirming that we continue to maintain that, and then also looking at a couple things that we've implemented, such as auto shutdowns of certain equipment or maybe lighting and things of that nature. Another thing is impact of specific production equipment to our peak demand. We can usually pick those out pretty easily because the largest loads that we typically have is like equipment that uses a lot of power, so we're able to pick those up with our EIS system at a building level. Another thing is lowering energy consumption through equipment settings. So we've learned some things with some of our equipment that we've been able to take advantage of through the EIS system. An example would be previously we had a piece of equipment that we would run a product through and it wouldn't shut down until the product was completely through the equipment. We've been able to make some changes to the equipment to have it shut down in stages so that as the product moves through it, it shuts down as the product moves, and we're able to save some power that way as well. Finally, another thing we use it for is validating energy savings from both equipment and facility upgrades. So we take a snapshot of before and then after and able to get a good idea of the savings we've accomplished. Again, appreciate all the information the campaign has provided, and thanks again for the award.
Thanks so much, Steve. I have to say, you guys have really done good, steady work each year, and you're using your data in all the right ways. So I wasn't surprised when we saw 15% savings. That's great. The other thing is that the next frontier on energy management information systems is really integrating into manufacturing, and you're doing that. So we applaud you on that process. Thanks again. All right, we're going to keep moving. We have a few more to go. The next category is the largest portfolio category, and it has been awarded to a very broad energy information system installation by the Commonwealth of Massachusetts Division of Capital Asset Management and Maintenance. So we're going to shorten that as DCAMM. 25 million square feet is really an accomplishment. It took a lot of diligence to get the metering in place and working correctly. Some of that metering came through ARA funding back when, and they've sort of verified it and implemented over time. I just want to mention a few key things of why they won this award before handing you over to Krista Lillis, their Energy Program Manager, who's spearheading this effort. First, DCAMM uses interval meter data in many different ways. So they identify energy savings and demand reduction opportunities. And one of the most important things they also do is right-sizing equipment because they're able to identify the actual loads in a building. So rather than upon equipment replacement to just replace like for like, they're able to understand the actual loads and better size that equipment to the load. They also perform monitoring and verification using interval data using whole building energy models. So those are weather normalized models which use that hourly interval data. This is more accurate than using monthly bills, so they're able to more accurately determine savings at the whole building level and see lower levels of savings with more confidence. So they've done a great job on a very large portfolio. 25 million square feet is really impressive. I just want to congratulate the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. And here's Krista Lillis, their Energy Program Manager, to share a few more details. Krista, are you there?
I unmuted the line that I thought was Krista. I'm going to unmute all again to see if we can have Krista speak up and let us know what number she's calling in from.
The conference has been unmuted.
Hi,
ahead,
are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Hi, everybody.
Okay, so I have your slide up here, Krista. You can just
Great.
start in, and Elliot will take care of the rest.
Thanks, Hannah. Thanks, Elliot. Thanks to the team. We're really grateful for this recognition. I think everybody before me has said for anyone that has this type of program, it is a team effort, and we have a really good team here. You mentioned earlier, we're new to the campaign, but the Commonwealth has been employing an EIS at state sites since 2010, and it was actually started by the Department of Energy Resources using ERA funding. The program actually, the way it was set up, came to DCAMM in 2015 because there were things that were working and weren't working, and we all decided it was more closely tied to facility performance and ongoing operations, so we took it over. I think Jeremy earlier had said, it's great to have this information, but if you can't pass it on to the facilities or the facility managers and they don't get anything out of it, work doesn't happen. So that's what we focused on a lot, was this data is really good data. How can we make sure that it's useful and that we're using it for the various things that we're doing, whether it's energy projects, energy program management, or just specifically facility operations, and make sure it's readable and usable by the facilities. So we've been working on that for the past 3 years, and not just looking at the opportunities recommended by the software, as you mentioned. We've been using it for everything you said, and trying to find other opportunities and expand the program. It's been extremely, extremely useful for planning. Here at DCAMM, there's an energy team that does energy projects, and it's been extremely useful in not just looking at the portfolio, identifying energy projects, but as you mentioned, also performing the M&V on those energy projects. And you also mentioned, right, exactly, cost avoided, and then ensuring that the equipment, if there's a request for deferred maintenance, which I'm sure any folk on here that deals with facilities know that there's always something. So anytime there's a deferred maintenance request, we can actually look at it and say, okay, what you are replacing it with, does the equipment actually meet the need? Is it too high? And that's been really helpful. And we've been asked, once people found out that we had this data centrally, we've a number of different agencies across the Commonwealth and even other states have asked for assistance, or specifically internal to the state, they say, okay, we're looking to shut down our server buildings, and we're not, we're going to put everything in the cloud. So how much money would we save? How much are we using currently, and can we help identify that reduction in energy cost? So we've been using it for way more than I think anybody thought we would, but it's been exceedingly valuable. And I have to think, I don't know if Kentucky is on the call, but Kentucky actually was very helpful in helping us sort of get this program back up and running. They were a really great partner and helped me through an RFP and actually connected me with you guys in the campaign. So we're looking forward to doing more with this data, and we're grateful for the support and resources we received from the campaign, Hannah, Elliot, and Claire. And thank you for all that you guys have done.
Thanks so much, Krista. I'm glad you mentioned Kentucky. They were also an award winner in a previous session, so they have a case study up on the website. They've been a really great resource to many people. Yeah. So thanks for mentioning them, and great job on a very extensive installation.
Thank you.
All right. So our next award in the category of innovation in the use of energy information system is in a portfolio. We have Macalester College. They received this award because they built their own energy information system in-house, which is no easy task, I'll say. It was a real group effort between the Sustainability Office, facilities, IT, and students. Really worked well together. I'm going to let them tell you more, but I wanted to mention just a couple of additional things that stood out for us in terms of the innovation. So early on, we met with them as they were designing the system and shared some best practices in whole building meter data analytics. So their teams went back and thought about what data visualizations and analytics would be most useful to them before they set out to build the tool, which was very smart. They were able to look at what different EIS had to offer and then design their tool with the features they liked best, with the support of their student that was really good at designing these kind of things, this kind of software. So that worked really well for them. There's also one fairly unique analytic capability I wanted to mention briefly. They use their EIS to calculate and graph a correlation between heating degree days and the amount of steam condensate return to identify issues in their system before failure. So that's been successful for them. They're also doing the same thing with a correlation of cooling degree days to chilled water plant efficiency. And one additional thing they're doing is they programmed a peak to baseload ratio graph to help them benchmark buildings and identify baseload reduction opportunities. I really like this chart. They've been able to see a wide variation in baseload by building, and from really low baseload, like this one looks pretty low, to baseload that's more like 50%. This one's 20%. So this is a great way to kind of benchmark against yourself, knowing different building types, but identify ways to reduce. So with that, here's the team from Macalester to share more about their work, and congratulations on this really excellent tool.
Well, thank you very much. We're very honored to be receiving this award. Just to give a little bit of background on our project, we started this project way back in 2013, and the screenshots that you were just shown are what we have right now. If you'd like to see more of our dashboard, feel free. It's open to the public. The address to that in your browser is emis.macalester, macalester.edu. You can go there and see all of the tools that we built into our project. But way back in 2013, the Sustainability Office was looking for a way to get energy information to students at occupied residence halls. Previously, we had the data, but that had been in the building automation system. From an IT perspective, that's the opposite of what we want to have happen, is we don't want students accessing that secure system, so we had to come up with a way to make a system that we wanted everybody to be able to use. So what we did is we started installing web-based, non-proprietary meters that we actually get right down the road from us. And that is part of our great story. It's a local product. It's a non-proprietary product. It connects right into our network. And then we accumulate all of this data. Fast forward several years, we had 2 different students in this role working with the data. And what you saw in the screenshot is the result of what our most recent student has done with it. And we've challenged him to make what I'm going to call an enterprise-grade energy management information system. And we actually started to be able to leverage this data to use it what we want in on-campus energy projects. So with that, I'll turn it over to Tom.
Yeah, hello everyone. I'm Thomas. I'm the student who developed the system, and I would like to thank you, Kurt Miller, who was my work supervisor, for the introduction. And I'm also here with Mike Pomeroy, the energy manager here at Macalester. And I'd like to talk briefly about the technology. So it runs on a Unix server and uses conventional Linux, Apache, PHP, and MySQL database technology, which is just enterprise-grade technology that I believe many students can master and can develop something similar. And I believe in our university settings, in our college setting, it's a great opportunity to involve students. So it's web-based and easy-to-use application, and it automatically connects to sensors and collects data, so there is no need to mess with Excel spreadsheets, and it creates visualizations with just a few clicks.
Speaking of, this is Mike Pomeroy, the Energy Manager. It's just been a wonderful experience moving from spreadsheets to visualizations. I use the visualizations every day, and with just a couple clicks, I can compare how our buildings are doing compared to the same period in the previous week, previous year. It's just been an incredible tool for me, and we're very grateful for the help from the Smart Buildings campaign, and appreciative of the award. So.
Just to point out, for those of you that have the screen up, the heating degree day and cooling degrees calculations that were mentioned are actually on the screen in a screenshot in the lower right corner of the display image if you wanted to look at it. If you did not get you can view that live. If you did not get the web address earlier, it's emis.macalester.edu.
Thank you.
And thanks so much, Macalester team, for sharing that. And I was really impressed with what you came up with and all the work you did. I'll go back to one thing you referenced here was you used the web-based submeters by Mammoth Systems. So just wanted to point out that non-proprietary product you thought was very helpful to you. And we've had a number of universities use students and as a part of their team, and they've been very successful in doing that. Carleton College was one, UC Davis is another. So this is starting to become a little bit of a trend we see, and that's something that other folks might consider. Students know a lot about computers more than I do, I know that. So, all right, well, thank you so much again. Great job, Macalester, and go check out their website. We'll also put it in our email recap of the meeting. All right, we are down to our last one. Our last award is in the category of innovation in the use of fault detection and diagnostics in a portfolio. The award goes to Amgen, a pharmaceutical company that's been deploying FDD at their office lab and manufacturing facilities. So we have another one. In addition to Benchmark, that is now into manufacturing, which is excellent. So they've been doing this in what they call their Smart and Integrative Facilities program since 2016. So we don't have that many participants in the campaign that include manufacturing in their FDD installations. And Amgen is one. Like I said, they've been able to look at FDD faults in not only their HVAC systems, but their compressed air systems and their water treatment plant as well. Amgen serves 6 campuses through a remote monitoring center. So they're staffing a remote center that looks at the faults. They have 2 full-time engineers reviewing and following up on those faults. And then they have a process in place to meet weekly, discuss them, and track follow-up actions weekly and monthly. So this is that's sort of one of the ways that people do it from a central system, central operations center, to get that expertise in a local place and then work with the chief engineers at each site. So congratulations to Amgen. I'm going to hand you off to Aditi Joshi, the senior energy engineer there at Amgen that's been spearheading this effort, and we'll tell you a little bit more.
Hi, everyone. First of all, thanks to the Department of Energy and the Federal Buildings Initiative for handing Amgen this award. This is the first time that I'm receiving an award for Amgen. So thank you for that. I was just looking at a list of all the awardees. So congratulations to all the awardees for receiving on receiving their awards. I found the slides pretty impressive, and I definitely do have a few questions that I'd like to ask. But in talking about Amgen, I have a few key information that I'd like to share with everyone on this call. I know it's almost 10 minutes to 12, so I'll try and be my level best quick. So we just to give everyone a background, we started this program we launched this program back in September 2016, and we started this we focused first on our 5 largest energy users across our network of manufacturing research sites, and the reason being is that so we first focus on our largest energy users across the network, and then within our largest users we focused on our largest energy users within each site. So we started with all the central utility plant equipment, so our central chillers, cooling tower equipment, boilers, our steam distribution system, our HVAC system, and all the building utilities. With that being said, to get that effort launched, I think there was one thing that I do appreciate, and I think a few members mentioned that as well, is the fact that it allowed in doing this or in developing this FDD, it allowed for standardization or introspection of all sites to maintain metering and instrumentation that's consistent across all buildings and across all central utility plant equipment. So a large part of that was, the front end audit to see what all equipment do we have, actual real metering on, that we can actually have that, driven to a central repository. So and develop analytics on. So I think that was when I look back at the last 2.5 years, I think that standardization of having that data and to even build further on that platform was one main, one thing I'd like to give credit for. So we started with the fault detection and diagnostics, and the success has mainly been from having a remote energy team that essentially is dedicated towards looking at these opportunities, looking at the building automation system for all sites, and really and of course understanding where each site is at or what each site is doing, and we have weekly calls with each site, and we report we report and document all the opportunities to each site. And then during our weekly calls, we follow up on them. We issue monthly reports to the executive team. Therefore, there's definitely some opportunity for the executives to know how this project or this program has been consistently, delivering the cost avoidance or energy savings, so to speak. And it's the SAFE platform has made a big contribution towards our overall carbon reduction goal. And if I had to put a percentage on that, it would be almost 25%. So just through fault detection and diagnostics, we were able to achieve 25% of our 7-year target that we were pushing for, which is a 10% reduction in our carbon emissions from our 2012 baseline. So that was one big success for us. Another is this platform, and now we've expanded the platform internationally. We're in Singapore, we're basically using this as a standard whenever a new site comes on or every building is getting decommissioned. We're using this platform for fault detection, and lately, we're trying to be innovative to see that, as a lot of buildings close down or as a lot of, or their need changes, how do we improve the HVAC use, or how do we intelligently program the systems to just to use less energy when not required. So we're kind of working with building owners on that aspect in some of our manufacturing sites in our decommissioned buildings. And one thing I didn't want to say right at the start is that we first started, when this program was launched, we started with a lot of big projects or big opportunities such as, boiler cycling and projects, cooling tower issues, and now, and of course, a lot of no cost opportunities. But now that it's been about 2.5 years since the program's been launched, we now expanded our platform into our wastewater treatment system, and now we're running proof of concepts in our manufacturing or our core business operation equipment, such as our bioreactors, our autoclaves. So we're still working on that piece, and depending on how we get there, hopefully we can have more equipment other than our central utility plant equipment, our wastewater treatment facility that's part of FDD. And one thing that I do want to start pushing for is benchmarking across sites. So I think as part of our next set of targets, I think like one of the other participants mentioned, was to have a consistency or a comparison now to see where is each site at from an energy per square footage basis, or a dollar per utility unit basis, and how do we standardize our the use of energy across our sites. So that's one piece I'd like to get with or work with the KGS team on. So yeah, that's
thank
what
you.
I'd like to
Thank
share.
you so much, Aditi. There's so much great work you've done here, and I really like that you pointed out that you've used this process to detect or to determine how to create consistent metering and instrumentation and a standard process for bringing buildings onto your system is really excellent and best practice. So we're going to have to move on to, I think we're only going to have time for one question from Elliot as a roundtable question. I'm going to pass you
thanks,
off
Hannah.
to Elliot.
Yeah, and just before I do, I'll just give credit to you, Hannah. This has taken a lot of coordination and great job to pack so much into this. And thanks to all the speakers for keeping it brief. We're going to keep the Q&A brief. I'm going to ask you, and I want a 30-second answer. This is going to go first to Jeremy at ISS. What is the one nugget of information you would give to someone out there looking to get started and be successful as you have been? Something you wish you'd known before you started, or just any wisdom you would pass on? So that's to Jeremy first for a quick answer.
Thanks. I think the secret is put together a good team. Maybe that's always what I would advise you. When we did a pilot of our solution, we learned a lot, and what we learned a lot set us up to do everything we did this year. And also sometimes the IT part of getting servers connected through the different communications protocols that exist and what companies are requiring for data security can slow you down a little. So if you have a great team, it seems like you can always overcome those challenges. And if not, you may end up not getting your full potential. So grab those team members. There's got to be someone from IT. There's got to be all your partners. There's got to be your client if you're a vendor. And make sure everyone understands what's coming and say, challenges will come. Let's stick together.
Great. Thanks very much, Jeremy. And next I'll go to Kaiser and look for the same answer from Gary.
I would generally say the same thing. I guess if to add an additional bullet, then I would say if great team, you got to have a good platform to work with. So the two things combined are what can make you successful. To add to the team aspect, I'll say any of these efforts just require significant change management, and it's a change in the way that oftentimes is a change in paradigm. So really don't underestimate the effort, and you got to have a good team really ready to commit to make the change so you can get the results. It's not like installing LEDs that are set it and forget it. You've got to actually get people to commit to doing it.
You bet. Thanks, Gary. Steve Beck, Benchmark. What would you pass on?
Yeah, I think the key for us is when you'll get a lot of data, and there's obviously a lot of information. The key, I think, is really being able to do something with the data, right? It's just not something that's going to do something on its own. So you have to have a strong team, which kind of echoes some of the other comments of people that are willing to pick up the project and say, yep, we're going to make a change, and then watch the data after the change is made and hopefully celebrate a success.
Thanks, Steve. Moving on to Krista from Massachusetts DCAMM.
Yeah, agreed. Having a good team, a number of different resources, and don't be afraid to question the software that's out there and what they are telling you you can do with the software. You know your world best, and if you have a good team, they'll all voice what that data can be used for, and it can be more helpful than you anticipated.
Thanks, Krista. Next up, Macalester.
I believe one thing that I would kind of echo that seems to be a theme through here is that maybe starting a pilot, getting it done once, and kind of using a fundamental of project management is that you do it the first time as a project, then everything after that it becomes a process, so kind of getting it down to a science and being able to implement it. In particular, in our case, we had a lot of data already, and that's why I think we've been so successful is that we had so many years of data already there, and then the system at the end was just seems to be the tool as opposed to the foundation of this is having the data to be able to do all of the analysis and things like that.
Great. Thanks very much. I'm not seeing Jamestown still on the list. Forgive me if you're there and I'm missing you, but I'll give the last 10-second answer to Aditi from Amgen.
I think I would agree with what everyone else said. I think the success is mainly because of the team and the culture. So I would say that I think nothing would be possible without a team-based attitude and the culture to continuously support as well as innovate at the same time. Yeah.
Thanks, Aditi. And I'll hand back to Hannah just to wrap things up here.
Thank you so much, Elliot, and thanks again to all the awardees and your great work. Just a couple next steps. Like I said before, you can pass along referrals during the campaign until January 1st, and please do submit your participant actions web forms. It's been really exciting to see what you all are doing and share this information. Make sure you go to the Success Story website and share those success stories around. This is how we get this information out in the public. We'll also be doing that through DOE's channels as well to give credit to all the great work that's being done by these awardees. So with that, I will be signing off, but wish you all well. We'll be sending out the slide deck shortly, and thanks for attending. Have a great day.
Bye.